All right, 6 minutes after 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. If you know somebody or you yourself have had cancer or are going through cancer and the different things that brings with it, you probably have your radio turned up because we announced this morning that Dr. Susan Barbara Apollon will be on with us, and she's on the phone right now. She's written a book called An Inside Job. She is, listen to this, she's an intuitive psychologist. We'll start there. There are so many questions that those two words put together bring to mind, so we'll try to deal with that as well. She's a breast cancer survivor, right there. I mean, that's huge. She specializes in integrative oncology, grief, trauma. She's been doing this for a very long time, and she's on the phone to talk to us again about her book, An Inside Job. A psychologist shares healing wisdom for your cancer journey. Dr. Susan Barbara, the only thing I'm not sure about your last name, Apollon?
It's Apollon. Thank you, and thank you for having me on.
Oh.
And it's Susan. It's Susan, not Doctor. Go ahead.
What did I say?
I said it's Susan. Please call me Susan, not Doctor.
Oh, okay. I see. Okay. Well, Susan, thank you for being on the air with us and for permitting me to call you by your first name. My mom was a cancer survivor. She has since passed away, but she didn't die from that. She just got old and died. And she ended up having a different kind of cancer, I think. Right, Robin?
Yes.
If I remember right. Yes. But she lived like 20-something years after breast cancer, and was such a vibrant. Her spirit was so bright. The pastor at her church often would ask her to join these groups so that she could cheer them up. And she didn't want to do them because she didn't want to be brought down by their sadness. but she was, yeah. So it sounds like that's sort of what you do as well.
Yeah, your mother was very wise. You know, she listened to her own inherent intuitive wisdom as to what she needed for life. And so she certainly could have been and probably was a wonderful inspirational role model. But at the same time, she understood energy, and she knew that she needed to be in high energy places with high energy people. Good for her.
Does it require a person that, as you said, understanding their own selves and kind of ignoring what the world tells them?
Absolutely. We're all born with the gift of intuitive wisdom, every single one of us. And the challenge and the gift of life, I think, is learning to harness that, really learning to listen to it. So as we age, we have these opportunities, such as a diagnosis of a life-threatening illness like cancer. And that allows us a chance to pay attention to what our inner voice says, our heart says. And we develop that, and we learn to trust it. That's often what helps my patients survive when they're with a doctor who is, let's say, giving them very few chances or good odds. And their wisdom says, no, I want to live. I'm going to go and find a doctor that supports me. Yeah. That's your intuition speaking.
I think I'm that same way. But let me try to be devil's advocate just for a second here to take the other side because we're agreeing. What about the person who is told you have to have a good attitude, and the person says, I do have a good attitude, but I'm still dying of cancer? What do you say to that person?
So I am so glad that you brought that up. That's a lot of what I address in the book, An Inside Job. I call it an inside job because in our society of Western medicine, we tend to rely on the external methods of healing, which includes surgery, chemo, immunotherapy, and so forth. And what we fail to take notice of is that the way we have approached life, how we think about things, our perspective, that has a lot to do, has everything to do with how our immune system works, because your thoughts are energy. Everything is energy. And so when we start to take notice of how we approach and think about things, those are the thoughts that impact the immune system. Now, we talk about, to answer your question specifically, we talk about, and all of you who are listening, I'm sure have heard this, you need to have a positive attitude. And you do. That's a given. That attitude means you think about things from a perspective of Instead of looking at the negative, you choose to see the possibilities and what's possible. However, if you choose just to be on that positive side, but you stored inside of you your entire life, the pain you've had, the resentments, the anger, the guilt, the feelings of being responsible, all of those are stored vibrations in your body. Every cell holds on to those. And so we need to do the work of learning to release, to process and let go. So those of you who are experiencing reoccurrences and you feel like you did the chemo and you did the radiation and you have a positive attitude, I'm encouraging you, go deeper. Take time to quiet yourself in breathing 10, 15 minutes a day. Sit down with a journal and ask yourself, what have I been holding on to that is in my way? What anger do I hold? What feelings of guilt in my life do I need to let go of? Because the body is so wise. So that has to be what balances that positive aspect. And that does contribute to the immune system not taking such good care of you.
What do you say to the parent of a child who hasn't lived long enough to have all those negative things embedded inside of her or him? That child with cancer that is, for all intents and purposes, on the outside looks like he or she is just enjoying life, running around, giggling, but their bodies have cancer. How do you talk to those parents, or maybe even to that child? I mean, does that child do the same rules you just kind of laid out? Do they apply to those three people, the two parents and the child?
No, and that's also an excellent question, because I'm sure in your audience you have people who are grieving their children. I do a lot of work with parents who grieve their children. And so there is not an easy answer to this. Having said that, when I'm working with my parents who are grieving their children, I encourage them. First of all, I help them with the grief. Grief is a process, and it takes several years to grieve your children. And so in the grieving, you go through lots and lots of different aspects of life. And one of the things that I do is I enable my parents to begin to just to consider other possibilities. One of those is the fact that I've been in practice for 30 years. I've done extensive research on what we call near-death experiences, where people die and then they return and they live long lives afterwards.
Wow.
But they've written about their experiences. And I study consciousness, I study mind, and I've written several books previous to this one that have to do with what happens when we go. What happens? I've had a myriad of patients share their incredible stories with me of their loved ones coming to them, of their children coming to them, of their spouses coming to them after they pass. So I did the research, and I found that psychiatrists, psychologists, doctors have also noted and written about the same things. This is important because it gives my patients hope. The hope that the death is not the finality and that they will connect. I do a variety of approaches in helping my parents of children who have had cancer or any other life-threatening illness that has taken their lives, and I try to help them open their hearts to various possibilities, including the give and take of life, the need to balance energy, and doctors who have written about their experiences about why do children die. And then in the middle of the night, doctors will, this is Dr. Johns Hopkins, and it was written up in the Journal of Medicine, who asked that question. And he was upset that he lost his little patient. And in the middle of the night, and he said he was not asleep, the room filled with exquisite light, and there was an angel essentially that came and said, Dr. I was going to say Dr. Morse, but it's not. It's a Johns Hopkins doctor. It's in the literature, and it's in my first book. I can't remember his name.
Oh, wow.
But the angel came to him and said, there is learning, there is teaching that happens, and when you or parents lose their children, your children have come to teach you valuable lessons, and some of those lessons happen as a result of them needing to go earlier than later. These are just drops of water or seeds that can help you begin to think about the possibilities. There may be reasons we do not understand as to why our little ones come and have to leave earlier. So it's not an easy 1, 2, 3 answer. It's something that needs for you to open your heart to possibilities and think about things differently.
Dr. Susan Barbara Apollon told me not to call her doctor, but that's her name. The book is called An Inside Job, and a psychologist shares healing wisdom for your cancer journey. I would like to say that this sounds like it goes beyond cancer. It sounds like it goes into life itself.
Thank you, because this is a book about wholeness and wellness. In the book, I define healing. For all of you who are listening, it's different than your traditional way of healing, because this one is, for me, truth. Healing is the restoration of wholeness, balance, harmony, and peace. And most of us don't understand there are a myriad of ways that we can find ways to heal, whether we're dealing with the loss of a job, the loss of a loved one, a life-threatening diagnosis. We need to restore the balance, and there are so many ways we can do it, so many, but it does include focusing, releasing what you've held on to that's painful and focusing on what feels better. That lifts you vibrationally.
Susan, in your work, I know you've done this for a very long time. How much of a role does religion play?
I think religion is important for everybody. Religion is essentially a collection of beliefs. It's a belief system. It is something that has been created more by man than it has by anything else, but it gives us rituals. It gives us a way to ground us and stabilize us. And religions are connected to a belief in a higher power. Having said all of that, for all of you who are listening, you do not need religion, per se, to experience healing. What you do want to do is, through these difficult challenges, recognize that they begin to open you to other possibilities of your connection with your higher power. I've never had anybody I've ever worked with who has not grown spiritually. So the journey of having an illness like cancer or any other kind of illness is one that challenges you to opportunities to know that you're more than just a human being, that perhaps you are clearly connected to the universe and to your own higher power and to everybody else.
Oh, you also speak about unprocessed past grief.
Yes, that's what I was referring to, Robin. We hold on to so many losses in our life, and we don't understand. We think, for example, if you lose somebody in your 20s or 30s and you cry and, you think that you have grieved them. But grief is the process that, as we evolve, we think about our losses in a different way. What we need to do is come to a place where we let go of those people or places or situations that we so dearly wanted and hoped to have in our lives. We need to release them to be in the moment. But those are the unprocessed things that get in the way of the immune system taking good care of you. You need an immune system to help you produce the natural killer cells, the T cells, and the macrophage cells to seek out and destroy viruses. But if your immune system is being suppressed by energy of thoughts that is low, because those thoughts will produce the wrong kind of chemicals that will suppress you. You want endorphins. Endorphins come from feel better thoughts. So you need the balance of learning to let go of what's been upsetting you in your whole life, during your whole life, and then focus on what feels better.
So I'm curious if there are any tools or any like tricks, and not to use the word tricks lightly, but I mean, are there any tools? For example, we've heard this all the time, that if you are sick, sometimes you can help yourself get better by watching a funny movie, and so or just laughter in general. So are there tricks to help one? Because we're not all built the same. Somebody might get the benefit of a religious ceremony, having Holy Communion, for example. I know a lot of people feel that's a very, very powerful ritual. I'm more inclined to probably shake off the doldrums or any depression, which I don't get much of that, but I'm more likely to shake it off by watching a video of a dog chasing its tail just to get a giggle or two. That usually shakes it off for me.
Well, again, Larry, that's your inherent wisdom. That is your intuitive wisdom. And it's saying, this is what you need to do for your healing, for the restoration of balance, peace, harmony. And so, yes, when you look at something, I even, with my grieving moms and dads, I encourage them. We grieve deeply, but I say, please find every day something to focus on that you can laugh about, that makes you smile, that takes you out of yourself and your pain. So watching something humorous, jokes, I always, to my grieving support group, not my grieving, my cancer support group, I bring laughter, I bring jokes as part of what we do. I bring other things, but that's a piece of it.
Right.
Yes, that releases endorphins. You need endorphins to support a good immune system to take care of you when you have cancer or any illness.
And you advocate good nutrition. I mean, this is part of the whole process in your book that you tie everything together with.
Thank you, Robin. I feel so strongly that we look at a lot of different things when we're ill. We fail to look at what we're taking in. Food is medicine, and we don't realize it. And so, yes, take a look at the chapter on what to eat, what not to eat. Overall, what I suggest strongly, based on my research, and I supply some of that in that chapter, this is an easy book to read, I think. It has great true stories, but in that one chapter, I do include research from other doctors who've had cancer and others. You want to avoid processed foods. You want to avoid too many sugary foods because sugar feeds cancer. You want to think about exploring the avoidance of most dairy foods. These are things that research is showing they tend to contribute to feeding a cancer or a virus that is cancer. Things like that. There's a lot of tips there.
Doctor, we need to take Susan. We need to take a little break. So we'll take that break right now. But we'll be right back. The book again is called "An Inside Job." A psychologist shares healing wisdom for your cancer journey. And if you've been listening, you hear that it's really more than just about cancer. But that is one of the biggest diseases that we have to deal with in our world. Susan, let's take a little break. We'll be right back on The Source.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accidents. On this Wednesday, sunshine and some clouds. Highs in the upper 70s at the coast, 85 inland. Clear to partly cloudy Wednesday night, lows in the mid-50s inland, mid-60s along the coast. Thursday, partly sunny, highs in the upper 70s along the coast, low 80s inland. Friday, partly sunny and becoming breezy in the afternoon with a stray shower, high 80 at the coast, 85 inland. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Whether you're building it up or knocking it down, get it done, rent it now. Sunbelt Rentals is here to make your job a little easier. Our knowledgeable staff will help you find the right equipment for any job, big or small. Did you know that Sunbelt Rentals carries heaters, air conditioners, generators, lighting, traffic control, and so much more? So whether you're building it up or knocking it down, we've got the equipment you need. Get it done, rent it now. And right now, for a limited time, you can have it for less. Just by mentioning this ad, if you rent it Friday afternoon, you can keep it the whole weekend and only pay for one day. But this is a limited time offer, so stop into Sunbelt Rentals today, Northwest 27th, just a quarter mile east of I-75. For more information, just give us a call, 352-369-9101. 352-369-9101. Sunbelt Rentals. Get it done, rent it now. 352-369-9101.
Hi, I'm Seth with AA Lock, Dock, and Security. Have you ever thought about the locks or security on your house or business? Have you ever wondered why the keys to your new car cost so much? Well, at AA Lock, Dock, and Security, we can help with securing your valuables. We can even replace those expensive transponder keys. We can give you the knowledge that no one else will. Call AA Lock, Dock, and Security at 867-1965. That's 867-1965.
All right, 25 minutes after 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. During the break, I actually made a connection to what we do, Robin, with what Dr. Susan Barbara Apollon is talking about. She said, call her Susan, so I will. Her book is called An Inside Job. Susan, I really want to tell you something that you just made me think about. I often think about the work other people do and compare the work we do in radio and say, gosh, we don't do anything compared to like a doctor or an attorney or a police officer who's out there every single day looking at horrible, horrible things. And there's no way I will ever compare being a radio broadcaster to any of those amazing contributions to our society. But I have one little story I want to tell you. There was a bad hurricane. Oh gosh, it's been a long time ago, and everything was down. All electricity was out. We didn't have any at the station, but we had a generator. We had no information about the storm because all of the connections to the satellites, everything was down. So Robin and I were literally on the radio, just talking. we were being honest. We were saying, we don't have anything. We're on the air, but that's it. We can't tell you where the storm is. We can't tell you where it's going. We didn't have an AP wire. We didn't have UPI. Back then, the internet didn't even exist, by the way. So that's how long ago this was. What happened afterwards is what I want to tell you about. People called us up or wrote us letters and said, you were a godsend because we had nothing. We had our little battery-powered radio, and there you were, and it was fun to listen to. It was just two real people, and I didn't feel alone. And for that, at that one moment, I said to Robin, I guess that's what we're really about. We're not really about being the guys with all the answers. We're just there to be somebody's friend through this device called a radio. And I can imagine that in a person's life when they get horrible news like there's cancer, probably the one thing that really helps a person is knowing that there's somebody else there for them.
That's right. You both are gifts in many ways. You take people out of their pain. That example is simply perfect. You help people. You are of service. Bringing a distraction, bringing somebody comfort, bringing them joy, and you do that. You make people feel better. You help them release endorphins. That's what you do.
Yeah, it's so, I guess, just natural. We don't even, because
exactly.
I mean, you wouldn't come to us for answers about cancer or about even how to fix a car. Mm-hmm. We just yeah.
You're there. There's a reason you're there. You do serve people. You make them feel better. That's why they listen to you.
Well, thank you for that. The book is an inside job. I can clearly see what your purpose in this world is, and the information you gave us on this little radio interview is unbelievable. The book has way more than that. I put, by the way, if you're looking at the podcast, which I'll share online later on, but right now it's live. I put the cover of the book, An Inside Job by Susan Barbara Apollon.
I like how you refer to the people that are all around you as your healing team. I think that's very, very important.
I believe that to be the truth. I really do.
So how are you doing now?
I'm doing fine, thank God. I really am, and my cancer was a necessary tool and a teacher for me. It helped me connect with my patients, and it saved my life. Because if it weren't for the cancer, we wouldn't have found a tumor on my adrenal gland that really would have taken my life.
Oh, wow.
So if I ask people to see your illness, such as cancer, see it in a more positive way, which almost everybody I've ever worked with does in hindsight. They always tell me the gifts that their cancer brought them.
Yeah. The book is available everywhere books are sold. Do you have a website you want to share with us?
I do. The book can be gotten at Amazon, but there is www.healingwisdom. I'm sorry, it's called An Inside Job. A psychologist shares healing wisdom for your cancer journey. That's the website is An Inside Job. Yes.
Okay. Is it okay? An Inside Job for healingcancer.com. Is that right?
For healingcancer.com. Yes.
Yeah. Robin has it actually on my notes here, so
Thank you.
I kind of knew.
Thank you.
Susan, thank you for being on our show today, and definitely come back anytime.
Keep doing the work you're doing, guys. You do good work. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. That's awesome. We'll be right back.
Fox News
Radio, I'm Karen McHugh. China's Xi Jinping tells President Trump, let's team up to end the North Korean nuke threat.
Days after they met in Florida, China's leader telling President Trump he supports getting North Korea to disarm and will coordinate with the U.S. toward that goal. That's according to Chinese state media citing a phone call. Until now, the Trump administration has accused Beijing of sitting on its hands as the crisis worsens.
Fox's Alistair Wanklyn. President Trump tweeted that China